Hot Mic with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mic.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something.
Hot Mic. On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Wednesday morning. Happy hump day. Happy fall spring is what I've been told on this 8th of February 2023. Welcome to our show on a busy Wednesday morning, a potential historic one for sports in the state of North Dakota as we start our Wednesday. It was a historic one last night in sports. If you didn't stay up and watch the Lakers game with the Thunder, not necessarily a must-see matchup for even hardcore NBA fans, considering where each of them are in the standings. LeBron James made sure it was must-see TV for what he did last night, as he became the all-time leading scorer in NBA history last night, passing the great, and I mean great, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in a Laker loss, which is going to get forgotten as the Thunder won the game. 38,390 points. Amazing for a career that has spanned now. He's been in our consciousness for 20 years, some longer than that. I was actually seeing on Good Morning America this morning the Sports Illustrated cover when he was first on it as the chosen one. I still have that at my dad's house in upstate New York. He's probably going to go scrambling for it now so he can sell it. But that was the first I think many of us had ever heard of him. And I think it's an interesting discussion as well that was thrown out there that LeBron had 4-year head start on Kareem, which I think should hopefully give us some more appreciation for what Kareem was, is that LeBron did not go to college. Kareem played 4 years at UCLA, and heck, they changed the rules of basketball in the NCAA when he was Lou Alcindor playing at UCLA, as they banned the dunk because he was such an unstoppable force in college basketball. That's what I hope happens over the next few days. Is there better appreciation for what Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did? He was done playing, at least when I got fully cognizant of what basketball is. Kareem was done mid to late 80s. That's when I was, and at that point it was all Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, and then Charles Barkley, and obviously Michael on the scene then. And there is no sense or use of us having any sort of debate on the greatest. I have no appetite for that. I will tell you, as a child of the 80s and the 90s, I think you could probably tell where I would go with that every must-see game. That's why the Last Dance was such a neat deal to observe, especially when the pandemic was just starting, that we had nothing else to observe, was to go back and fully appreciate how unreal Michael and those teams were. That it shouldn't be lost on what he did. They won 2 3-peats. 2 of them. And heck, if he didn't go and play baseball, they would have won whatever it was, 8 in a row. They wouldn't have lost. I don't know who would have beaten them. Nobody would have. And you can say whatever about LeBron. Left Cleveland, go to Miami, then back to Cleveland, then to the Lakers. I mean, that's his deal. He's won and won. He won championships now in 3 different spots. There's something to be said about that, including winning in Cleveland, which they had never done before. I mean, that 2016 NBA Finals will go down as one of the very best of all time, considering what he did, especially in the 7th game of that series on the road against Golden State. The team that won 70. They broke the Bulls record. They won 73 games that year. And now here he is at, 38, and still an amazing player. And I think, for more hardcore basketball fans than we've got some great basketball minds that are going to be on our show today. So I think it's only appropriate that we'll ask them about what his legacy is and where he stands in the game. The fact is, LeBron never went in as a scorer. I mean, you look at him where he ranks all time in rebounds and assists. That's the thing that's always been more impressive to me, is his all-around basketball game. He's fantastic to watch. Anytime you get a chance to see him play, and I watched last night, and I appreciated the fact that TNT kept the bug up in the corner of the right-hand part of the screen to tell you exactly where what he needed. Had 38 points on 13 of 20 shooting, 4 of 6 from three-point range, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals. And that always kind of his MO on it. Wasn't just going to be one stat. He was going to stuff them all. And that was always the most impressive part to me. The fact that his sons were there last night. Kareem obviously was there. I mean, it was, you got a sense, I think, as watching the TNT broadcast, that the more stars were there, that you're thinking he's not gonna wait around. I think there was some momentum that maybe he'll do it Thursday night because they're playing the Bucks on Thursday, and that's Kareem's old team, and that was the record breaker right there on that shot. Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, was there last night. It was a neat scene. And, we've had the fortune of seeing many a record go down here over the last 15, 20 years. It's the basketball all-time points record is different than like when we saw Aaron Judge's record go, the record breaker to break Roger Maris's. That was, at least to me, I mean, baseball has maybe more of a connection to me than basketball. That was special. This is still pretty cool. And I love the fact that Kareem was there, this kind of ceremonial passing of the torch there at the conclusion of the game last night. That was a neat deal. It's just, there are certain records that people have committed to memory, the numbers. Even still, I think people still have, you say the number 73, they still know that that's the record tainted it is. Heck, 61 was still associated with the record until Judge went and broke it. I can't sit here and tell you the all-time rushing yardage leader in NFL history, at least the number. It's just not a well-known number. Those aren't associated with that. Like Alexander Ovechkin is chasing Wayne Gretzky. You want to talk about another record that hopefully we will celebrate in the not-too-distant future. Ovechkin is closing in on Wayne Gretzky's all-time record for goals scored. Another one we thought would never be touched. That one is not readily known to many fans. I hope that one has some further appreciation as we get closer to that. But an amazing night last night, and an amazing player. And we have different basketball minds on our show today. We'll tap into all of them about what this record means, especially in their sport. That'll be a fun conversation. Speaking of hoops, we were all excited after the Timberwolves' victory on Sunday night as they took out Denver. And remember, the Nuggets didn't have any of their studs. Well, last night, the Wolves returned to Denver, and surprisingly, all the Nuggets guys were back. Jokic was back. Jamal Murray was back. And you saw exactly why the Nuggets are the number one team in the West. I mean, this was an abomination in the first quarter of defense. Look at that pass. That's fantastic. I mean, the Wolves should have repaid the Nuggets by resting all of their guys. Load management, all of their guys last night. It was 49-19 at the end of the first quarter. Jokic had a triple-double at halftime. I'm not sure if many of you were watching the game when you decided to tune out. I did at about 8:21 last night. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19. 49-19 because this game was the Wolves decided not to play defense last night, and the Nuggets decided to try, which I understand for some why this game is, why the NBA is infuriating, because you have nights like this. You have night like Sunday, and then you have a night like last night. I don't know. It's probably somewhere in the middle between these two teams. Denver is better than Minnesota. That's probably not up for debate. But are they 35 points better than the Wolves? Probably not. They're probably at least 10 better. That was the final last night. Look at our new fancy scoreboard. That's nice. 146 to 112. And the Wolves have to come back and play tonight against the Jazz, which we'll talk about later on what to watch. The fact that they split the regular season series is, I guess, impressive in its own right. But as you saw there, Jokic with a triple-double by halftime. And so the Wolves now, as we talk about the fluctuating Western Conference standings, from 6th to 9th as we start today, and they play the Jazz in Utah tonight. You're not messing around here. You can't. Knowing full well where you are in the standings, with Dallas holding the 6th spot, now Golden State and New Orleans in the 7-8. So right now, again, as things would stand, the Jazz would play at the Wolves in one of the play-in games, and the winner of that would play the loser of Golden State and New Orleans. By the way, Oklahoma City, who beat the Lakers last night, even LeBron's performance, are just on the outside. They're a half game back of the Jazz as we sit here on the 8th of February. So no time to wallow for the Wolves as they play tonight against Utah. One last thing before we wrap up our opening segment. If you missed our extra game of the week last night, you missed a dandy as we're wrapping up the regular season of the EDC hockey campaign. Red River and Davies played a dandy at the Farmers Union Insurance Center last night. The game was tied through regulation and overtime. And so it goes to a shootout to tie, and this is big. Red River, if they get the win, they win the EDC regular season championship. So we'll pick it up here in the shootout. Davies and Red River. Red River missed twice. This shot, surprisingly, somehow does not go into the net. Red River goalie fell down. Jake Jenkins didn't know where it was. Makes the save. Finally, Red River breaks through on that goal to give them the lead. So Davies has to score. And they answer back with a fantastic goal. And so we're knotted up. And so we go to sudden death. And the saves keep on coming. There's a fantastic one to keep this alive. Next shot up. Again, we're in sudden death. That one is stopped. So we keep going now to the 6th round of the shootout. Finally there. The go-ahead goal for the Riders, meaning Davies has to answer or the game is over, and Jenkins comes up with the save, and Red River wins the EDC championship as they beat Davies in a 6th round of the shootout. That was a fun game to watch last night, and Red River claims the top overall seed. The EDC hockey tournament begins a week from yesterday. The quarterfinals happening at home sites, and then they move on to the semifinals being played up in Grand Forks. As we mentioned, we're right around the corner now. We're, about 10 days out? A little more than that from the now we're about a little over 2 weeks out now from the state hockey tournament. It begins 2 weeks from tomorrow up in Grand Forks. So thrilling game last night. If you missed it on our penultimate game of the week broadcast, our final one will come up next Tuesday in Moorhead with Roseau and the Spuds set to meet in hockey. Good game last night. Packed show, and I mean we are packed to the gills here today. Drew Trafton will be by in just a few minutes. We'll get his Super Bowl thoughts as the Eagles and Chiefs still doing the media press tour. An actual football game set to be played on Sunday. We'll discuss that. At 9:35, we'll welcome back Four Winds Minnewacan boys basketball head coach Rick Smith to the show. His team has not lost a basketball game in almost 2 years. They won the state championship last year, unbeaten. They are rolling again here in 2023. We'll chat about that, but also he has sent a letter to the executive board of the North Dakota High School Activity Association and a pretty fiercely worded letter about his disapproval about the three-class proposal. That vote potentially could happen this morning. We'll visit with Rick coming up at 9:35. At 10 o'clock, David Richman will join us in his usual time slot. Men's basketball coach at North Dakota State. The Bison in a skid here. They've lost 4 of their last 5. Big stretch here. They have 6 games to go, 4 of them at home. That includes tomorrow night when they welcome in Omaha. We'll visit with Dave coming up at 10 o'clock. And at 10:35, Davies boys basketball assistant coach Jake Hook will join us to chat about his team. The Eagles are, again, having a dynamite year, but also about a special group that he has formed and founded for Giving Hearts Day, which, of course, comes up tomorrow, one of the great days in our community. And Jake will give you some insight about something he's been really close to and tied to about his home area up in Kittson County. That's coming up at 10:35. So, a packed show here today on this Wednesday. We'll take a break. Hot Mic is off and rolling here on this Wednesday. We'll be back after this on WDAY Extra at Inforum.com.
The biggest Seahawks, Sounders, and Mariners fan in the FM area. It's time for Views with Drew.
All right, I promised I wasn't going to do this, but you have to answer. LeBron or Michael Jordan? Who's the GOAT?
No, that I've given that just as much
every other sports show's doing
consideration as anybody else.
You know what?
As a 5'7" white guy who stopped playing basketball in junior high, I think I've got a good head for this conversation. I would say I think Michael Jordan's the GOAT. But in my mind, greatest of all time and best are two different two different players. In every sport, really. I think because if you were to ask somebody to design a perfect basketball player, I think you would end up with something that looks a lot more like LeBron James than Michael Jordan. Yep. I don't think anybody in the world, and I think in football it's the same way. Like you're going to end up with a quarterback that looks probably a lot more like Peyton Manning than Tom Brady, or like a Patrick Mahomes
than
Tom Brady.
Now, yeah.
But I think Tom Brady's the GOAT.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Mahomes might end up being the best player ever. But I think so. It's
good.
I think
a good distinction. I like that.
So for GOAT, I think it's Michael Jordan, and that's all because of the intangibles. And I think Kobe Bryant's probably even more, in my mind,
Kobe's got to
the
be in
greatest of all
conversation.
time than LeBron James. But I would go to the mat arguing that LeBron's the best basketball player ever, just because of what he can do.
Okay, we got to bring up this shot. I saw this morning all over social media, and this is more of a commentary, I think, on currently where we're at. Look at everybody has their phone up. Yes, everybody does.
Except, do you notice in the front row there, Phil Knight from Nike?
By the way, I appreciate that.
Soaking it in.
Why can't we just appreciate? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, everybody's going to have the same photo to post on Twitter or Instagram or something today. Like, there's something to be said, I guess, for being there and say, yeah, I was there.
Yeah.
Here's the shot.
Well, and that's what you're paying for at that game, right? You knew that it was a distinct possibility that he could set the record. I didn't think he was going to do it in the third quarter.
No.
Like, and we last night at 9:00 I was anchoring and we ran a quick story on it, and I said, he's probably not going to do it tonight, but he could, and then, 2 hours later, he makes me look like a moron.
Doesn't that more of a commentary on where we're at today as a society that everybody's got to have their phone out?
Right. And that's the cost of admission.
Yeah.
Is to have that opportunity to say, I was there and I can prove it. Here's my shot of this, iconic moment.
So I did that at the Super Bowl when I got to go and I got the kickoff,
right?
Because I thought that'd be a cool deal. And then after that, the phone went away. Like I'm there to I was there working, but also I want to.
Yeah.
Even in Frisco, I did it. Like I do that every year. Here's the kickoff because I want to savor that because it's a cool moment. And then bam, after that we're into the game.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. And there have been so many moments in just
like, that's funny.
My career where or even when I'm on vacation sometimes, like, I'll just be like looking at it through my camera, my phone camera. And I do think to myself, what am I doing? Like this is, I mean, it's cool to have, and, you can look back on those things, but really it's the experiences that last and that stick with you. And you're right. Everybody is going to have access to that moment, for perpetuity because of where we are with technology these days. Like, you don't have to do that. But yeah, I think the reason those people paid that ticket price to go to that game was to have that moment on your phone.
Okay, so not to drudge up things, but your favorite team has experienced this week recently, twice back to back, that you got to experience your favorite team being in the Super Bowl, which mine is not in 60 years now almost. The emotion of that, obviously you weren't there, but living through it, and obviously you talked about it last week of the loss, but when the year before, when they won it, I mean, what is
that's euphoria?
What is that like? I guess what is that like?
If you would have ran into me in the moments after that game, I would have been a very generous person. That's the time. Like, if you're going to ask a favor from me, the answer is yes. But I remember, so I happened to be with my dad at the time, which was really cool. Nice. And he grew up out there. His parents had season tickets for a long time. And my aunt, who was his sister, was also there because it was my dad's birthday. And it was a milestone birthday for him. And so he turned 50 during that Super Bowl. And so I got to go home for that. And usually in news, like, for a long time, February was kind of off limits. Like, you couldn't take vacation time because it's sweeps month and we're doing our ratings.
God, there's a outdated term now.
And now we're always in sweeps. But that was really special because there was like this childlike reaction where it's like that was unprecedented for us. None of our teams have won anything ever. And so for that, in that instance, especially because that was a blowout. So we knew by the early third quarter, like, we're going to win the Super Bowl, and it was a we moment, it wasn't like they're winning it. It's like, we're winning the Super Bowl. That it was cool because you don't ever really get to see your parents in that light, where you see that childlike wonder and that, like, you're discovering that emotion together for the first time. Right. Like, there are some moments, I guess, like when you go to, like, if you ever get the chance to go to Disney World or something and you experience a ride or like you see a movie or you have one of those experiences together, it was very much that emotion, cool. And so that's what stuck with me is just kind of like that feeling. So it's great. I mean, there's nothing like it, but the stress of it, because we had that Super Bowl before, Super Bowl 40, where things didn't go well. And
Gosh,
and
I
it
forgot that.
And it was super stressful,
man. Jeez.
And because
this lost the Steelers. That's right.
Yeah, and you could say like, hey, it'd be great just to get there, but when you're there, you want to win.
You want to win the game.
You don't want to just go to the Super Bowl. And we had done a big party at my parents' house on Super Bowl 40, and we had a bunch of people there that like didn't quite get it. Like they weren't invested in the game, and like when your team's in it, if Vikings fans like who haven't experienced that, don't throw a huge party unless it's like diehard Vikings fans, because you want people to be just as invested as you are in that moment.
See, I have said, and I've told my wife this, I've told everybody here on the show, if somehow adding the Jets make it, I have saved some money aside that I'm going.
You're going to go to the game?
I'm going to the game. Oh. I have set aside. I don't care what it will cost. There are some thresholds of that. I don't know if it'll ever happen.
Right.
I'm gonna do that. Like, if the Mets had not choked this year, I was gonna try and go to the World Series.
Yeah.
That just something that, as a fan that I've invested this much, I want to be there, not to take a photo. I want to enjoy the experience there.
And I don't know if you remember right before that New Jersey Super Bowl that the Seahawks and Broncos played in. There was a storm that was coming in. And there was a big conversation. Okay, is this game going to get bumped to Monday or something? So the ticket prices plummeted. And airline tickets plummeted. And my brothers and I looked at it very seriously and were like, do we go? Because it was insanely cheap to go at some point. And we almost did, but we decided, being together and just having it on TV
That's a
where,
good experience,
You know,
too,
like
man. I
it's
can't
like you
imagine
can't,
that.
you know,
Yep.
like it's good to have that because football's a TV sport. That's why it's so
Correct.
darn popular. Is because you know it's so digestible for a television viewer as opposed to baseball or soccer or like some sports
Right.
have been grown up around TV, and football is the prime example of that. And it's almost a better experience even if you go to games. I would argue outside of I think the college game, the best way to ingest the college game is to do it in person.
Be there.
Like it's just because of the momentum swings, the juice you get from the stands. But the pro game, I think it's better on TV. I just, and I love going to games. If you give me a ticket, I'm going, or, I might pay to go, but it's almost more because you want to say you were there, than what you actually see in person.
I would agree with that with the Super Bowl because being there, missed out on all the commercials or the movie trailers.
Yeah.
Which I believe my sister was texting me like, oh, they had a new Avengers trailer.
Yeah.
I'm like, awesome. I'm at the game. I didn't see it.
But to play devil's advocate to that, now you have your cell phone.
Yes.
And those commercials get posted now
almost
like
immediately. Yeah.
simultaneously.
Right.
And so like if you're sitting in the stands, there's that.
So, by the way, just the movie nerds that we are, I'm looking at it looks like the movie business is getting back into the Super Bowl game because there's a bunch that are going to apparently drop during the Super Bowl. The Flash trailer, which comes out this summer, which has been...
And we haven't seen Michael Keaton in
anything
the
for
bat
Batman,
suit.
yeah.
And I
coming
think
back.
that could be the big like aha, like break the internet moment.
The Super Mario Brothers movie, are you interested in that at all?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, but I'm going to see it because I have kids. Like, I love Mario.
Yeah.
I grew up on Mario. Everybody grew
as
up on
did I,
Mario.
right.
Yeah.
Ant-Man, obviously, because we're not that far away. We're 10 days
I'm
out
very
from that.
interested in that trailer. I mean, they're going to get my money.
Right. Guardians of the Galaxy 3,
That
which
one
comes out this summer.
Yeah.
Or May, I should say.
That I love that series, so that's fun.
The new Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah.
Which I'm cautiously optimistic for.
Yeah.
And the Marvels, apparently, as well.
The Marvels
Yes,
I'm really
looks like
interested
they're
in
gonna
because
get
we
more.
haven't seen anything from that, but we know what that could be.
Scream 6, evidently.
Okay.
I haven't even watched the fifth one yet. I got to see that. The Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm curious. Like it's that's the thing with the internet now is like, unless like, the Flash, like if we see Michael Keaton in the bat suit, like that will dominate.
Yeah, it really will.
That will be trending number one almost instantaneously, I would think.
Did you know there was a new Transformers movie coming?
No.
There's apparently a new Transformers movie coming this
the
summer.
15th one or
Transformers Rise of the Beasts comes out June 9th. And not expected a trailer for Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. God, how many are you on that? 7 or 8 of those, right?
Yeah.
Actually, I'll say that they're getting better.
Yeah.
Like
that
the second one could have killed the whole franchise.
Right.
And actually, since then, they've been
really
pretty good.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree. Those are just getting like they're just they know that formula and it works. And Tom Cruise just wants to keep doing them. And I mean,
I'm all right with that.
Yeah,
they're
me
okay.
too.
You got to pick 4. Let you go. Who's winning the game Sunday?
I'm going to go with Eagles.
Okay.
Just because I know the Chiefs' red zone defense is really bad.
Ooh, that's a good nerd.
I think they're ranked 30th in the NFL.
That ain't good.
And I'm going to go Eagles 27, Chiefs 23. I think it's going to be
good
close.
Game. All right.
Yeah, but I
Awesome.
think the Eagles win.
Great stuff, man. Thanks for coming by.
Yeah,
and
thanks
thanks
for having me.
reminiscing on a Seahawk victory. That's good
Yeah,
stuff.
I always do that.
Drew Trafton joining us each and every Wednesday. We'll take a break. We come back. The top team in North Dakota boys Class B basketball is 4 Winds Minnewacan. We'll visit with their head coach Rick Smith about their season and about the potential 3-class vote today, why they're not in favor of it. We'll tell you about that when Hot Mike returns after this. Welcome back, everybody, on a busy Wednesday. Hot Mike rolls on here on WDAY Extra, Inforum.com. Dave Richman, NDSU men's basketball coach, coming up when we start our second hour here in just a little bit. We were talking hoops off the top of the show. It'll be dominating the sports chatter today after what happened last night in Los Angeles. Figure we got a couple of great basketball minds to chat with, including our next guest, the head basketball coach at Four Winds Minnewacan, whose team is number one and still rolling through teams. Always great to visit with Rick Smith. All right, so I know your guys obviously have to just love LeBron James. As a basketball coach, how much should we appreciate what we saw him do last night?
Yeah, I mean that the 20-year thing, that he's been going nonstop. The pressure that's been put on him since he's been 17, 18 years old, and not a lot of young kids can handle that for 20 straight years. And my assistant coach Travis Mertens is huge LeBron James fan, and I've always been a huge Lakers fan. But you have to appreciate what he did, what he's doing, and I think when it's all said and done, he's going to be, one or two of the top players in the state. Everybody's going to be, everybody's going to be a Michael Jordan fan because of what he did for the league. And, everybody has their favorite players, but, what he did last night and what he's still doing today is just remarkable.
The thing that always gets it about me, and I mentioned this off the top, is he wasn't necessarily always a scorer. He's still like top 5 in assists, top 5 in rebounds, top 10 in blocks. He's just an amazing player.
Yeah, he's done it all, and you can't forget about, when he was younger, excuse me, the younger player, that he was a great defensive player also, and he could guard 1 through 5 on opposing teams, and people forget about that also. So, he did it on both sides of the floor, and it's just, you got to credit the guy for doing that. He's been a great role model, stayed on all the headlines, all the negative headlines that he's done throughout his career, and been a really good ambassador for the NBA and for our young kids.
So before I knew you were going to come on, I did a little bit of research. We were talking about this off air. The last time you lost a basketball game, I was calling the game. So I'm not sure if I'm the jinx. Many people have that association with me. So if it's me, I won't be anywhere in the building for a while. But that was almost 2 full years ago. I mean, just describe this kind of role your team has been on.
Well, you got to credit our kids. Our kids have just bought into our system, and they continue to work hard each and every night. And, our goal, of course, is to go out and play hard every night and try to win the basketball game. And the kids are just, I have to credit those young men because they just come in and work their tails off. And that's the only way you can get that success done, is if they come in and they buy into the system. And without those guys, we don't have what we have. And they just, I can't say enough about them. They're great young kids in the classroom, in the community, and they just keep working hard. And we try and get better. And if we lose a basketball game, we're going to come back and work our tails off to try and get better and see what's going on. So, we're preparing for Warwick right now on Friday night, and that's all it's in our minds. And Thompson the following day. But we have to stay on that type of a path for us to be successful.
For people that have not only see your team once a year when you guys make it to state, how big is basketball, the culture of basketball in your community, Rick?
It's huge. It's huge. It's for a lot of our kids. We live in a minority place, a poverty place, and for a lot of these kids, the gym is our sanctuary. That's their home. That's their safe haven, and that's where they are happy, and that's where they've been successful, and so for them, and the community has supported them so much. And our fan section, no matter where we go, we're going to fill the gym. First time for me playing up in Rolla, up in St. John this year, and the places were packed. I mean, they were running out of food at halftime and closing their concessions at halftime. And it's just the fan following for our kids is amazing. And it just makes for a great atmosphere for our kids to play in, because everybody wants to play in front of a rowdy fans, loud fans. And it not only is very fun for our kids, but it prepares you for postseason also, because that's the way postseason basketball is. It's a lot of loud fans and cheering on their teams, and so it's a lot of fun that they follow us all over the state of North Dakota.
You make a great segue there about postseason basketball, because obviously today potentially could be the vote to enact 3 classes for potentially for next basketball season. I know you sent a letter into the board expressing your displeasure, maybe the best way to describe about seeing this happen. Give me, I know you're speaking just for Four Winds, about this process and why you guys are not in favor of it.
Well, I think, like I said earlier, I think change is always big, and it's always tough for people to relate to. It's hard to predict the future, what this plan is going to become. And for me, I grew up in a small high school in Warwick, North Dakota, and I played high school basketball for Warwick, and I was always you watch the state tournaments in on TV, and you attend the state tournaments as a high school kid, and you just see the atmosphere that the Class B tournament is always. It's always been a huge part of my life, and whether I was playing, and even when I was into college, I would always attend the state B tournament, and the history of that tournament is just amazing. I mean, you talk about North Dakota basketball, the first thing that comes up is the Class B. I mean, they write books about it, and you got the epic battles of David versus Goliath and the Hillsborough Epping, and you got the great I know there's a ton of great coaches out there, but you got Coach Byer and Coach Demain, and you can go on and on and on. The guys who built this Class B history, the players, the games, so for me, the change is a little difficult, and it's going to be different. And we all kind of, have subsided that this thing is going to go through. So we're accepting it now. We're in the acceptance stage, I guess you could say, working on some preliminary schedules for next year. And so that's always hard for me to do that. I just thought that when this plan was first sent out to us, I just thought that they wanted 60% of the vote. The high school activities wanted 60% of the vote, and when this high school plan first came out to us, there was a lot of unhappy schools of where they were placed in the divisions. There was a lot more. If you look at the plan right now, there was a lot more teams in the middle division when it first came out. And well, I think that they didn't believe this plan was going to go through. And of course, then the second plan came out, the 3 more teams from the higher division came down, and probably 15 more teams left. The middle division went back into the lower division. Well, and then the votes, then they got to the 60%. So I just thought that was a little bit of a political move that happened. If everybody wants it, I'm fine with it, but to move people around to get the votes, I just thought was not right. But again, it is what it is. It went through, the board accepted it, and they're our governing body, and we have to follow what they tell us to do. And of course, there's a lot of unhappy people where they're at, and but again, we'll see what happens. I hope they did it for the best of all the schools in the state of North Dakota, not just the ones that they wanted to move out of certain areas. And we hope that is the right plan for every school in the state of North Dakota, not just a few.
Your school, for people that don't know, will move up. You're going to move from Class B into this Class A. So you'll still have teams you play. I'm sure you'll probably want to still schedule Shiloh and Trinity. You play them, I think, almost every year. Now a potential to maybe play a Kindred or a Central Cass in the regular season. I know you've met plenty of them in the postseason. How do you feel about some new scheduling opportunities? I know there are teams you love to play, and I'm sure there's others one now that you probably can't play anymore.
Yeah, that's an exciting part, especially for our boys basketball program. Our girls have gotten, lost some key players off our team last year, and they're a little young this year, but improving all the time. So, but that's an exciting part, to play some different schools. Devil's Lake is that's going to be a real exciting game for us. We've been wanting to always try to get that matchup. It's just even if it was one time a year because of the fans that follow their program and follow our program and the kids that grow up together between the two schools that know each other so well. Travis, my assistant, was a Devil's Lake grad, and my other assistant is a Devil's Lake grad. So it's going to be it's going to be exciting. There's no doubt about it. The travel's going to be, you're going to have, your weekends are basically gone, because you're going to want to play those teams on Friday and Saturdays, the far away teams.
Yep.
And I thought I would hope that they would give us another year to really make this schedule really great. I think the schedule in the middle division could be a really good one. But I wish we had more time to plan, shootouts and jamborees to make traveling a little more, offset the traveling a little bit. But if they say it's a goal for next year, then we'll be sitting at a lot of tables and cracking out schedules and doing a lot of emails and trying to get this thing through. And of course, the officials part comes next. Everybody's going to want officials for all these games, and so that part's going to be exciting. There's no doubt about that. And we'll still play the teams. The sad part is, the camaraderie that you had with all these coaches in District 7, which is no longer in Region 4, which we'll no longer be a part of. It's kind of sad, but you'll still have the relationships when you see them. But again, you have those rivals that you battled with for so many years. We're going to play one on Friday, probably the last time we'll play them, but other than that, that part we're excited about. I think there's going to be some fun games in that middle division. I think there's going to be some really tough battles in that middle division, which is going to make it fun for the fans.
Before I let you go, I know how you feel about the Class B. It's evident. I think people saw it when you guys won the whole thing last year. How odd will it be, let's say next year, you're playing in that new division and see the Class B happening and you're not there?
Yeah, that's going to be strange for not only me, but for everybody. Two state tournaments going on at the same time. I think the times that we had where we put 10,000 people in the Civic Center and 11,000 people in the Minot Dome, that's over with because of the two state tournaments going on at the same time. Hopefully they can balance that out with this plan as the years go on. But that was the history of the Class B, and that's just, I grew up with that. A lot of Class A people haven't grown up with that. But we have, and I have. So that's going to be very, very different and difficult to change. But again, we'll see whether the future lies with this plan. And I really hope it works out for everybody, because I know there's a lot of people that are not happy and there's a lot of people that are happy. So hopefully we can come to a medium ground and make this thing work.
It's great to catch up. I always appreciate your opinions and thoughts. Thanks so much for doing this. I promise I won't go anywhere near you guys. I don't want to see you guys lose. You got this streak going, all right?
Well, it's always great to see you, and you're always welcome no matter where we play.
Thanks, Coach. Good to see you, bud. Rick Smith.
All right, Dom. Take care.
Legendary Four Winds Minnewaca boys basketball coach, the defending state champs. They are rolling. They've won 40 in a row. The last time they lost was the 2021 state. I think they lost in the semi. They lost the third place game as well. So the fact they lost two games in a row, they lost to Kindred in the semis, and they lost the third place game out in Minot. Since then, we're talking almost 2 full years later, have not lost a basketball game. They are moving up. They would be part of that new second tier in the same region with Devils Lake, Grafton, Hillsborough, Central Valley, Carrington, and Thompson. And they would still be in the mix with a Central Cass and a Kindred. But, you look at some of their scores this year, frankly, they've won 72-29, 73-32, 66-43, 90-40, they beat Dunseith, 71-38 over Langdon, 87-38 over Rugby. I mean, that's that. We had a score last night I saw come in. I almost did it right then and there. It was 90-22. I understand blowouts will happen, but it is widening here in Class B. We're trying to get it to this point, I think, is what the goal of this is. And again, the meeting will commence at 11 a.m. Today. The sources I've talked to that are close to this believe this is going to happen today, that it will go into effect for the 2023-24 basketball season. Everything that I've heard on that. We're due for a break. We'll take one now, get caught up. David Richman coming up. We got to be on time for Dave. I don't want to get yelled at. We'll do that. Hot Mic Wraps, Hour 1 after this. Wrapping up our hour here, our thanks to Rick Smith for coming on. Of course, we'll have coverage of the 3-class vote coming up later today on our news at 6 and 10. Busy second hour coming. David Richman on deck, Davies boys basketball assistant coach Jake Hook as well. We start hour 2 of Hot Mic right after this on WDAY Extra and Inform.com.
This is Hot Mic. Hot Mic on the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
Well, let's just maybe continue the train here. Like, I need to know, are we doing this, Dom, like at 9 or 10:06 or 10 o'clock? Because my Zoom that I get, the link says
here
10
we
o'clock,
go. Yes.
and at 10:02, I still am waiting for the host. And I want you to know, Dom, you're the host. So Bison time.
Let me
I don't know. Ince and I would have you with Kramer and Jason Miller on the stair climber.
Oh, I would not last a minute, man.
That would be a beautiful
Look,
sight.
I'm sweating already because I can feel the head coach. I can hear the tone in your voice. Like, yeah, I would not last a day in practice. I'm going to tell you
here
that
would
right
be
now.
my tone. Come on, Dom, you can do this. We're here with you. I mean, just exactly like that.
And with that, we welcome on the men's basketball coach at North Dakota State. Okay, so I'm looking at my watch here. They played a little intro. We're at 10:02, so we're like 4 minutes better. I'm getting better at least, right? We're trending in the right direction.
The plan, the process, the journey is all about being better, Dom. Being better. So,
oh goodness,
and it's probably your turn to take a shot at me, but I deserve plenty. But I am noticing, Dom, somebody said to my dad the other day, well, your son's getting just as much gray hair as you. And thankfully, Macy, who cuts my hair, she calls it chrome hair. It's not gray, it's chrome. I really like that. I've never heard of it.
Yeah, I like that too. I'll tell my wife that. Yeah, I like that.
But some of the angles like that your camera is like I'm seeing a lot of receding stuff here, Dom. So
I told him. There's a shot. There's a camera back here. Like, no, enough. I don't need to see that one anymore.
I'm all about helping. I'm all about being better. So now it's your turn.
Well, honestly, I had nothing for you, man. I wanted to talk basketball, some hoops. It's all over the news today on LeBron James, and I know how much you appreciate the game and just the longevity of the guy to do this. And you've played against, you've coached against some unbelievable players of just what the impact of what he did last night. What does that mean to you as a longtime basketball coach?
Well, I'll always be a MJ fan. Jordan's the GOAT. Like, no disrespect to anybody else. I was a huge Kobe Bryant, the player fan, his mentality, the Mamba mentality, that stuff. But I think the thing that LeBron has won championships, and he's obviously extremely talented. He's in the conversation for the GOAT, and I'm not here to debate any of that stuff. What I can really appreciate about LeBron is, has he been perfect in everything he's done and said? No. But in this day and age of these things and video everywhere, for him to still be doing what he's doing, at this level is completely remarkable. I mean, this is a cancel culture. This is a culture that is waiting for you to fail so they can nitpick everything. And LeBron, like I said, hasn't been perfect, and I know he's got his enemies, but for him to be still doing what he's doing at the level he's doing it, is truly, truly remarkable, Dom, in this day and age.
Well said there. It's just there's no missteps, man. There really isn't. In a day and age where everyone's waiting to get you, he hasn't had that, which is remarkable to me. It's just crazy like that. So we were visiting off air, and I watching the game Saturday after it got home from the Bison women's game and rewatched the game in Brookings. I'm like, I don't know how I tell Dave, like, that was a fun game to watch. I know it didn't come out the way you wanted, but boy, just if you take emotion out of it, that was a fun college basketball game that played out Saturday in Brookings again with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, and again, like I told you, it's you just say it to me, give it to me, because I drop out of my own shoes and remove the title that I wear in that game. Like, I get it; it's a great college basketball game. We jumped out, and I think we were up 12 or 13. They called a timeout, bang, bang threes. And then from the rest of that game, it's a 2 or 3 possession deal. I don't know if it ever got over 3. I think at one time they were up 6, and we responded. Again, I knew going into the weekend, no offense to USD, and we were short some personnel. We didn't play very well offensively, and they made some plays. We weren't overcome some things Thursday night, and that was a disappointment. And I knew Saturday was going to be a challenge. Yeah. I know I'm not supposed to say this, but in a lot of ways was encouraged with some things that we saw Saturday in a good environment and against a great team. Like, we can compete, we can be there. But I think it's the fine line that we've talked about. Our margin for error with the youth and inexperience on our group is very fine. You and I were talking about the numbers don't add up in that game. We shoot 60%. We shoot 6% better than they do. We out rebound them by 6. We have 15 assists. We have more assists than they do. We only turn it over 10 times. But to their credit, they only turned it over 2 times in a 40-minute battle. And I don't care if you're doing that 5-on-0, Dom. That's remarkable. And they got to the free throw line. Zeke Mayo had a terrific game. It's life. It's life in college basketball. It's life on the road. You tip your cap to them, and you hope you have opportunities. This week. Not hope. You take opportunities this week to get better, to be better.
Where do you get a sense with this team now here with 6 games to go? I know you and I talked last week that, hey, if we go and split, then all right, we're right in the mix. If we get swept, maybe we're still on this roller coaster. You feel like you're still on the roller coaster then?
Yeah, and I think I woke up Friday morning thinking, are we really on a roller coaster, Dom, or are we just kind of at times? And I'm careful because you respect all your opponents, but are you getting away with things based on where you're playing, who you're playing, right? And are you truly getting better? And where do I get a sense? Like, clearly we know it's pretty evident. It looks like Oral Roberts is going to run away with the 1 seed. Are we still in the hunt for the 2 seed? We are. Do we need to be pretty darn good and virtually not lose any marks? We do. Do we need some other help? We do. But the one thing to all that is there seems to be, probably remove South Dakota State and Oral Roberts, but 3 through 6, 3 through 7 is just a jumble. And so that goes back to why focus on things that we can't control, conference standings and all those things. Focus on the moment of getting better. And we've got to get better, Dom. We've got to find some internal leadership. We've got to find the focus that everything matters in every moment. There's little plays like here, and that's why you love the challenge of playing against South Dakota State on the road, because it makes you better. It does. I hate the result, like we spoke of, but I love the challenges, and I think if we can continue to learn from our challenges, and we're getting challenged a lot, there's still opportunity for those rewards out there for us.
So now it's Omaha and Denver. Omaha tomorrow, Denver on Saturday afternoon. I'm always interested, Dave, on the back end of this. Now you're seeing these teams for the second time, and depending on how a team is playing, especially they're not getting the results they want. They're at the bottom of the league standings. When you play them a second time through, it's either one of two, that they're not necessarily mailing it in, but they know the season's not going that way, or they're going to play their tails off against you. And more often than not, it's the second one I always find to be the case.
Yeah, I think I've talked about that. I mentioned it to Jory. I mentioned it to Hendo, obviously, too, a little bit, where, again, I'm so careful with all due respect, we, NDSU, right? Not just NDSU men's basketball, because of the success football has, because of the success we've had, because of the environment that we have And we've had some terrific environments, and I hope, tomorrow night and Saturday afternoon, teams don't sometimes get that at their home places, Dom. Sometimes they don't get that at other venues along the way. And let's face it, these kids want to play in an atmosphere. Our guys will tell you that sometimes. And as much as we love it, sometimes it's a detriment where these kids get, fired up. And there's some kids on Omaha's roster where, there's recruiting battles, Kyan being there, like, trust me, like, this isn't a team that's mailing it in. I promise you that. And this is even me from afar, as you're watching, you've seen them, a little bit on a losing streak, but then you go back and you dive through what we do in our prep is their last 3 game numbers. And I'm expecting to see some big glarances, right? Some big difference. It's not there now. They're a couple possessions here, a couple possessions there from winning, some games. And it's a group that has had some injuries, some guys in and out. And you just don't want it to be against yourselves where they get organized.
Damari, I know, got banged up early in the game against USD. He played great, I thought, Saturday, 34 minutes. He had 1 turnover. What was the deal on Thursday night? What happened with him?
Yeah, and again, you can see, going back to Mike's article during the week, and a lot of the, a lot of the narrative right now being on, rightfully so, Grant or Morgs and how we want to play. Like, I was having a conversation early last week with Saul about there's a track record of success, and that track record usually stems with point guards, right?
No doubt.
Ben Woodside and Lawrence Alexander and Vinny Shaheed. And I really feel like in his own version, Damari's going to be that kind of guy for us. But you go Monday or Tuesday's practice, he got a hip pointer and just banged somebody in a screen and wasn't able to finish practice. I think that actually was Wednesday, and we were debating all day long Thursday if he was going to go.
Okay.
To his credit, he tried to give it a shot, and he just had another little tweak early. But I was really proud of the young man. We talked, and it's a fine line for somebody that I want to have an endearing relationship with. But you hear quarterbacks talk about, the greatest strength that you have is your dependability, your presence out there. Yep. I think obviously a couple more days, but in a different mindset from him. He gave it a go, and he was terrific. He was terrific on Saturday.
Are you full boat for everybody you expect to? Knock on wood on Wednesday for tomorrow night's game?
No. And again, I don't really care. And Omaha's going to find out, and you doing this show can, these are things that I want to help you guys out with too, Dom. Luke Yoder's going to be out for the year. Again, hadn't been playing the minutes, but without Damari out, in a full game situation could have been useful. And then, Lance Waddles is going to be in concussion protocol this week and this weekend. So we're going to be without him and clearly need to be smart with that. Damari, is he 100%? No. Is all of Omaha's guys 100%? No. I mean, it's that time of year, and we need to battle through these things and figure out different ways to incrementally get a little bit better. I
had an email, Dave, to ask you about Des McKinney's status. Can you update us on that? Is he available? Would that be a road to go down? No, not. I mean, we decided based on at the time where this Des rehabbing the injury, and it happened it's never a good time, but such at an inopportune time where it's the end of the season, right, and then kind of affects the off season. But we did sit down in mid to late December and decide it was best course to redshirt Des. Is he available? Yes, but at this point, as much as it's about the program, I'm not going to take a redshirt off of a young man with 6 regular season games to go. And so no, his availability is done. Like Noah Federson, they're both red shirts right now. You look at where the league is at right now. I mean, we mentioned what Oral Roberts is doing, and again, like Western Illinois, they'd won 5 in a row. Then they lose by 30 at Denver. Then they squeak out at Omaha. So I mean, it's just honestly. We say this every year. It's get to Sioux Falls, and then it all depends on a matchup. It really honestly does. I know you want to be playing well, and that's what your teams have always done is trend in that direction when you get to the conference tournament. But it's literally 2 through 7 right now. I could just throw these papers up. I have no idea who's going to be there. I don't. Nobody does. You're exactly right, and I think that's the one thing where you're on a Zoom right now with a frustrated head coach because you just can't
quite figure out exactly, and you're looking to plug a hole and then another hole leak, and but that's the opportunity that's in front of us, and that's the opportunity that we need to take advantage of today. To your point, to be better, to be playing a better brand of basketball as we get into Sioux Falls. And I do, Dom. Here goes me on a transparent tangent. Like it's just because of the way a lot of the success in these leagues, this league has been done, with development and guys sticking around, and now you're seeing a lot more turnover in the spring. The experience factor is going to be a big deal, and I think it's not only going to be a big deal, just in the non-conference and some of those things, but it's also like who can gain experiences throughout the year, and records may look a little different, but it's ultimately good, bad, and different, however you want to shake it. It's ultimately about playing your best basketball. And Spencer, Coach Wilker said it the other day. Think about this, Dom. This Friday, so in 48 hours, we're 3 weeks away from the Summer League tournament.
Yep.
And that's crazy. And hopefully it's a just really a smack in our face. Like, hey, gentlemen, we got three weeks to lock this thing in.
All right, I do have one thing I'm going to get on you about, because you have to speak for your your coaching brethren, because we talked about the Jim Boeheim story earlier in the week about him complaining about other teams, other schools buying teams like Pitt and Wake Forest. I don't understand. It's the rules. I know certain schools yourself, that's not how you want to build rosters, but it's allowed. I just don't understand the whole clutching of the pearls, like, oh, I can't believe they would do that. It's allowed, man. I don't get what you're complaining about.
Unfortunately, I agree with you, because and hear me out. Like, life's not fair, but at the end of the day, somebody asked me, it was a national guy that, texted about a 4 or 5 question thing. And is the game this, that, or where's your, like, at the end of the day, we're still putting 5 guys out on the court, and the opponent is still putting 5 guys out on the court. And you can shake it any way you want. I think, and I'm not going to name specifics, but I think you can see other teams that are putting such a primary focus on NIL. They're putting such a primary focus on things like to appease to 18 to 22-year-olds that they're not having the records, because, people aren't held accountable to the nuts and bolts and the toughness and togetherness things. And you're seeing that at a high level with some teams. But the bottom line is, hey, you're right. Whether I like the rules, whether I don't like the rules, they need to be embraced. Yeah. And because for 40 minutes, there's still an orange ball, 94 feet, 2 teams, 5 players, 3 officials or 5 players on each, and those are the things that you can control. And those are the moments that you can control, and you need to work on and control those things.
Do you believe, in the conversations you have, like at the Final Four with your colleagues, that is a driving reason why a guy like Mike Krzyzewski stepped away, Jay Wright stepped away, to legendary coaches that just don't want to deal with what, frankly, you have to deal with now on a 24/7 basis, whether it be NIL or the portal?
I think that's a part of it. I do. I think if we're being honest with ourselves, like Coach Sash has a great line. It's a great game, but a blank profession, right? A messed up profession. I didn't want to get you in trouble
it's
there.
All right.
But there's a lot. There's a lot that goes on. Yeah. There's talking to other colleagues, talking to Kleiman. Like there's things like outside of the season that are very uncontrollable these days. It's not how it used to be. And I think sometimes, especially for some of those guys that are on the verge of it one way or the other, it maybe kind of just pushed it over the ledge. I think about it all the time, where from a standpoint of like this is, and I don't know what else I could do. I don't know what else I want to do. Are there some challenging days? Are there some frustrations with how things are? There are. Like that's just real talk. But at the end of the day, I still love the platform that we have to mentor young men, the platform that we have to compete. Those are the spirit and atmosphere to see college athletics that way. It's still there, but it's different.
It's changing every day, man. It really is. It's just, I'm sure you look at your phone like, okay, what's next, right?
I think that is sometimes the challenging piece about being a leader. And then, I speak to it and sometimes it's that one, like, all right, you're getting in your car. It's been a good day, and you're starting to feel something. You're gaining some traction, and you're just waiting for that next Steph Whitman text. Oh, so and so did this, or hey, so and so's got this going on, and it's like, but like we're not unique to this, Dom.
No.
Like everybody's got different challenges. You've got your own challenges, and I think that's the biggest perspective that we have, where we get to do this and battle through some things. And do I wish results were different? Certainly do. But it's not unique to the situation, and complaining and all those things, whining ain't going to do any of us any good.
I always appreciate your perspective, man. We could talk some big picture stuff. Thanks for the time, as always. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow night at the game, all right?
Appreciate you guys. Thanks, Dom.
Dave Richman, North Dakota State men's basketball coach, joining us here on this Wednesday, does every week at 10 o'clock. Bison men in Omaha coming up tomorrow night right here on Extra at 7 o'clock. They play Denver on Saturday. Those are two teams beneath them in the standings. The Bison currently sit 6th in the Summit League standings. A lot can change and will change between now and Monday when we reconvene and look at everything. But big couple games for the Bison. They got to get these two. We're talking about staying away from the play-in games on Friday and then opening day. That's where they're at right now. South Dakota is just a half game behind the Bison at 6-7. Let's take a break. Hot Mic rolls on a busy Wednesday. We're back after this on WDAY Extra at Inforum.com. Welcome back, everybody, on a busy Wednesday morning. Hot Mic rolling on here on WDAY Extra, Inforum.com. I always love when our guests are early. That makes my life a heck of a lot easier. Our pleasure to welcome in Davies boys basketball assistant coach Jake Hook in studio. I've known Jake forever, and I've always interviewed Bart on TV. Bart always, I think, wants my job. He's on, so I'm glad you get some airtime today. How you been, man?
I'm good. How about you?
It's good to see you.
Yeah, for sure.
Congrats on the season. You guys are rolling again. First place, or running away with the EDC. Is this what you thought for the 2023 Eagles?
I mean, you always hope to have a great season. You always, there's other opponents they worry about in the season, and just every game we try to prepare the best that we can for our opponents, and we respect all of our opponents, I think, too, and prepare really well, I think. And we've been pretty healthy so far, so it's been a good run.
How hard is it knowing you're going to get everybody? It's Davies. Yeah. Like when you first started, you and Bart, Davies was just the new kid, and then you guys won it in 2014. I think everything changed after that. The Davies had the huge we're going to have to worry about them, and that's been the case ever since now, almost a decade later.
We try to tell our kids that, guys, you have Davies or Eagles on your jersey. I mean, every game or it's your opponent's best effort.
Yeah.
You just got to prepare yourself, no matter who you're playing.
How do the guys adjust for that? It's probably doesn't hit them until like you're playing a West Fargo, a Cheyenne, or a North or something like that, right?
Kids nowadays, it's tough, because when we played sports, we got excited for games.
Yeah.
And nowadays, they've played hundreds of games already with,
right?
with AAU and travel ball since third grade, and so we got to find our certain ways. Our song right now is "We Will Rock You," and so that's kind of our pregame. Like turn the hat, if you will.
Yep.
Yeah.
So last week we televised the game against Horace, where Mason just went crazy. Mason Clabo ended up scoring a new school record, 47 in that game, and I remember visiting with Bart about him. This is now, 2 years ago at the state tournament when he's an 8th grader, coming in and playing a lot of minutes for you guys. And now here we are at a sophomore where he's got multiple Division I offers, and the trajectory is going this way. Describe this player and how special can he be?
Well, I've been in Davies ever since we were a program, and so once his brother Jaden came around, we had this
heck
small
of a player too, by the way.
Locker room. He write down our plays and things that Bart would have on the board as a 4th and 5th grader, to watch him just kind of grow and just to see him, just as a player. I mean, he's the first one at practice every day. He works hard. He pushes other teammates, and his basketball IQ is off the charts. And it just, I often wonder how good is he? Because we see him every day.
Yeah.
So just kind of used to it. So it's pretty special.
Is this only going to get bigger in terms of the Division I stuff? I mean, we talk about it regularly on this show in terms of how good is the basketball here? Well, this is a different level player. You're in it.
Right.
I mean, are we just getting the start of what could be something crazy around here?
Yeah, I mean, the sky's like the limit. Like his work ethic is there. His drive is there. I think just a lot of kids, I mean, they have talent, but just to have all the factors is huge.
How does he handle seeing this on a day-to-day? I mean, I talked with him not that long ago.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot. Yeah. For a freshman, this is a lot. For a 15-year-old kid to take this in, how do you see him handling this on a day-to-day basis?
I mean, last year as a freshman, he led the state.
Sophomore now, sorry, yeah.
Scoring as a sophomore. I mean, he just keeps kind of rolling. Like our Davies YouTube, our channel, like their fun thing is that they say Mason Claybo do Mason Claybo things, and like
really did.
It's like every game, every practice, there's something different that we see, too. But like, everyone talks about his scoring too, but he's also leading the league in assists, and second in steals, and so he wants to get his teammates involved too, and so it's a fun ride.
When you get to this point in the season, Jake, I would say the dog days. You're nearing the end, but you're not there yet. How are practices now? Knowing, hey, okay, we can't start talking about EDC tournament yet. We still got 4 or 5 regular season games to go. Is this truly the grind of the season right now?
It's getting there. I mean, we can see the end. We got 4 games left.
Yeah.
We're at Shanley on Friday. We're at North next Tuesday.
Biggie next week. Yeah.
Then we got West Fargo, South and West Fargo. So having those 4 in-town rivals, obviously that helps for just kids just being engaged. But I would say Coach Manson has not pushed the button yet, and so but that's coming, and the intensity is only going to get there.
I'll ask you this, as you've been a longtime basketball guy. I know it doesn't directly affect the upper class, but there's likely going to be the vote today on 3-class basketball. What do you make of that, and how that's going to change things? And is it going to change things at all for you guys? Obviously, Horace is going to come up, and Minot North is going to come up here in a couple years. Outside of that, do you see any other real changes to the upper division class?
I mean, on the short term, I'd say, like, for us, I know Bart's had some conversations about, like, playing some other teams that we haven't played before. I know he has some coaches that he wants to coach against before those guys are done, too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's fun to play somebody new. It's fun to prep for somebody new. Those other schools, Valley City and Wahpeton and Devils Lake, I mean, like, just like class sizes and just the numbers,
Well, I'll speak for you here. Yeah. Those games against Valley City and Wahpeton are not competitive. You guys have beaten Valley City by 70 points.
Yeah.
That it's going in this direction. So I think it's fine that they're not going to be in that class anymore.
Right.
You guys. Devils Lake is having a really good year.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. One is fair to those kids too. I mean, just a number of
There's
kids.
No fun in that,
we had to
right?
choose from, but I mean, Valley City last night, the score was unbalanced, but they played tough. Coach Terry's got them playing physical, but I mean,
it's not, the numbers are not there, right? The numbers are not there on that. That to me is the biggest disparity in that. And honestly, people say, well, wait a minute, Horace doesn't have, they're going to. Right. It's going to be a matter of time for West Fargo. Horace has the amount of kids there that Cheyenne has now. I mean, I remember saying that same thing on the news, like Cheyenne's going to be there, much like you guys were there almost. It was take a little bit. Boom, Davies had it. Yeah. The same thing with Horace. I think it's the same thing with the new school in Minot. It's going to be the same way there.
Well, like back in November, on tryouts, we have 100 kids, give or take, that try out for.
No kidding.
For all of our levels.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, we, unfortunately, we cut kids that probably would make it on other teams.
And that's just the nature of the beast for you guys on that. Let's take a break. We come back. We'll talk about why Jake is really here, about Giving Hearts Day, which is coming up tomorrow. We'll do that and some other basketball chatter. We roll on here on this Wednesday morning on Hot Mic on WDAY Extra at Inforum.com. All right, back here on a Wednesday morning. Back with Jake Hook, Davies boys basketball assistant coach. You a LeBron guy or you a Jordan guy? There's no other in between. You can't be a Larry Bird guy, apparently, or a Magic Johnson.
Right. Well,
Shaq, Kobe.
Back in the day, just I'm more of like of a Dominique guy,
Yeah,
just-
Dominique
right?
Wilkins,
Yeah.
great player.
Right. It's kind of funny, because like our staff.
Sure, your team, I mean, you're made up of that. The guys you
Right.
coach is
Right,
just living
exactly.
that, right?
So our staff, we got 3 old school guys.
Yep.
We got Coach Manson and Coach Zimiga, and we're all Jordan era guys.
Yep.
And then you got Coach Heidelbaugh and Coach Veit, who are LeBron guys. And so we always like kind of jeer each other back and forth, and but like, Bart says, oh, well, back in the day, they played defense, and so it's fun, but like, I just think as sports fans, and earlier you mentioned like the, with Ovechkin and everything else.
Yeah.
Like we like, as sports fans, we like seeing records.
Greatness,
People
man.
love to be,
Yeah.
to say that they, they were there when, yeah. So it's fun for sports. Am I a Braun fan? Not really, but it is what it is.
Can appreciate still what he's done.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
you don't have to be a huge fan to appreciate that he's just been remarkably consistent for 20 years. Since he was
Right.
the guys you coach.
Yeah.
He was that age. He's been on the national spotlight.
Yeah.
That to me
Right.
is amazing.
Yeah.
That's the part that's crazy. Well, you're here in studio today because tomorrow obviously is a huge day for everybody. It's Giving Hearts Day, where nonprofits can get money donated. I know some have already scheduled donations, and you started one. Out of your hometown. You're originally from Hallock, which I don't know how you're a basketball guy. That's a hockey area, right?
Well, yeah, old Coach Deere. Remember that name?
Yes.
Yes, he's my high school coach.
No
and
kidding.
So, yeah, I grew up in a basketball family, so.
But the shirt says that Kitson Cares.
Yeah.
This is a charity you started here a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Tell us about it and the genesis of this and how this all came about.
One night, just I'm self-employed, so like my business, I tend to buy cars from back home, and the owner of C&M Ford is my co-founder, Paul Bloomquist. I said an idea one night. I'm like, hey, when I buy a car from you, I'll donate $500. If you want to match that, we'll give back to the kids of the county. Well, my personality, my competitiveness, I can't do anything halfway, So within a month, within a couple months, we're Minnesota nonprofit, and then we were a 501c3, and then we kind of launched like Thanksgiving 2 years ago.
So
And
November 2022?
Yeah.
Or 2020, sorry. Yep.
right during a pandemic.
Yeah, right.
Which is kind of crazy in itself. And just like our story and just like my story back home and how we resonate. Our first goal was about $10,000, and we surpassed that just really quickly.
Wow.
And I think to date we've raised about $125,000 for the charity. We've given out $13,000 in scholarships to kids back home. We do small things from a pair of shoes, a pair of skates, winter clothes, just like you name it. If there's a need, we're there for the kids.
We have some of the video giving out like Chromebooks to kids in class. I mean,
Yeah.
that's amazing, man, that's been
Yeah.
able to be able to give that back to a community that sorely needs it.
Well, and what's fun too is that was from Vivacity out of the cities, and a classmate of mine, they found us, and they said, "Hey, this is what we do, and what's your need?" And
Yeah.
so it just, a lot of support comes from home, a lot of support comes from alumni of Kitson County. It just, it's everywhere.
Is this such an organic deal? When did you get a sense like, okay, this is a way bigger. This is going to be a thing that's going to occupy
Yeah.
more of my time than I thought.
Well, I mean, obviously you're kind of driven by the dollars and what you're raising,
Right.
but just it's more of just like seeing what we do for the kids of the county and just
The impact
support
that you
and
had,
just-
right?
Yeah. So, and a lot of kids, we have no idea who they are. It's a need that comes to us through social services, through teachers, and just, we're there for them.
The website is Kitson Cares, KIDSON, Cares, CARES.org, that you can donate there for tomorrow for Giving Hearts Day. And I'm just looking at the website here, everything from winter clothing, shoes. I mean, it's just things that people just take for granted that some just don't have.
Well, yeah, like, last summer got a request for a bed.
No kidding.
For a kid. They had some health issues and
Yeah.
kind of like rashes and stuff.
Yep.
And, I mean, a small thing, like you said, we take for granted, like a bed,
Yeah.
and just to have that, for kids to have it, just, just one of the things that they've done for the kids back home.
When did you, I guess, like a real memorable moment, something to say, wow, I know it's not about you, but
Yeah.
I did this. This was something that meant even more to me
Yeah.
than I could have thought.
And that'll kind of mean a lot to me.
Yeah.
Just kind of help kids like I was. When I was younger, I was poor. I was on welfare. I stutter, and just to find kids that I know that just it means a lot. Last year we had a kid, Ozzie Meyer Rice, who now plays football at Jamestown, and we helped him out quite a bit. And Kingston County Central had a great run. Well, last couple of years,
Yeah.
but they played at the in the cities, and his shoes blew out Moorhead one night, and so I'm like, hey, you need more shoes, and so I got new shoes to him just to see him wearing those shoes the next game. I mean, it's small stuff like that that's fun.
Yeah, you guys are a football power, by the way, too. Did you play football too?
I did
growing
not.
up?
I was tall and skinny back then, so I should have. But yeah.
Is there a set goal you have in mind for tomorrow? I know anything you'll certainly want, but you mentioned the competitive nature.
Right.
Do you have a set goal that you're hoping for tomorrow?
Last year we raised 15,000, and so this year our goal is 20,000.
Awesome.
And we'll just keep going. It's a fun ride. It's a labor of love. If it wasn't not easy, but just if all support wasn't there, I mean, it'd be as fun. It's hard to say, but it's just it's work, but it's fun work.
To have that feeling to give a pair of shoes to a kid that needs it, can you describe that? What that emotion is like?
Well, I mean, it takes me back. When I was a kid in 7th grade, I was bullied, but I mean, I didn't see it as being bullying back then. Just kids being kids. And the shoes I had for football that year were just an old pair of just rubber spikes that we probably got at a rummage sale. I don't know. Well, some kids, they tossed them in the mud and they were ruined. And so that same day, I got to my locker at practice. There's a brand new pair of shoes that they're waiting for me. And just something, that's in 7th grade. That's back in probably 1990.
That's stuck though, man.
Something that just like that. That just kind of stuck with me. And in sports, just overall, just been a great equalizer for me as someone that that was poor, that does stutter. You kind of see yourself at different levels from other kids.
Yeah.
But sports, when you're as good as your teammates and you're on a team, I mean, if it's sports, if it's band, if it's choir, just for kids to have something where they can feel equal, it's so important nowadays.
Again, the website is Kidson Cares, KIDSONCARES.org, to donate there as part of Giving Hearts Day. Great stuff from Jake, man. I'm blown away by this. I know this is something you've really been behind for the last couple of years. Just I know you, and I know you've been putting a ton of time into this, and to see the outpouring of it and the impact, I'll just tell you, congrats, man. Right. It's been awesome to see it. I'm glad you could come by. By the way, if Bart ever gets tossed, are you the next one in line? Like you take over?
I don't know, because you
got seniority, don't you?
Well, Coach Zimiga is there too. It's kind of funny if you have time here. You got a minute?
Go for it.
So, past December, Bart's son graduated from the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
And we had bad weather coming in, and so he had thought, well, we play Horace on a Tuesday. I'll fly out on Wednesday morning. Well, they left that Tuesday, and so he's all worried about the first game, ever missed, and so who's got what, and so that game was Coach Zimiga, but
you got next then?
Yeah, we'll see, I guess. Well, the game got canceled, so Bart's streak is still alive. So
he needs to get tossed from a game, and then you guys can fight over about who's going to take over after that. Then
that'll never happen. He's
Are you kidding? I've seen him get riled up.
Yeah,
I've seen it firsthand, man. So thanks so much for coming by.
Right.
Good luck tomorrow, and good luck the rest of the way. All right. Jake Hook, Davies boys basketball assistant coach here for Giving Hearts Day for KidsandCares.org. We'll take our final break. We'll come back. We'll put a bow on the show and wrap things up and get you ready for a busy, potentially historic Sports Wednesday here in North Dakota and Minnesota. We'll do that right after this. Fun show today. Our thanks to Jake for coming by. Again, Giving Hearts Day tomorrow. It's one of the great days around where you see people's real generosity come out in a variety of ways to different charities and nonprofits from around the region. I know we'll focus in on that tomorrow on our newscast, and I'm always astonished by the amount of money that is generated each and every year. We have a running tally on our newscast, and it just keeps going up and up every single year. And good on Jake to do something like that. We need more of that from people, just to do something organically to help out. It's a neat deal, and congrats to him for doing that. And we'll have more information on our website at inforum.com, and of course throughout the show. If you missed our interview, we'll be able to podcast it later. You can watch it back in full as well at inforum.com. I'll mention this again, and I know I had an email come into the show yesterday from a guy who watches, and I appreciate that. Wondering about the 3-class plan and what it means going forward. There's a lot of branches on this, and I'm sure that we'll talk about in the coming days and weeks. And I know for some, their eyes are rolling to the back of their heads thinking, boy, you've talked about it enough. It's a huge deal. And I will tell you, from what I have heard, who I've spoken with over the last 48 hours, from people that are close to this, the sources I've spoken with think that a vote will happen with the board today. They're going to meet here starting at the top of the hour, and they're going to implement 3-class basketball in this state for next year. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. People I've talked to believe it will. I think from the people that you have heard on our show, even Rick Smith today, who's not a proponent of it, he is in the acceptance phase of it, that believes this is a done deal and this is going to happen. And there are a lot of tentacles to it. And not, you look right in our own backyard, it's going to affect us here at WDAY immensely. And that's something we have talked about, something I've talked about on our show, that we're still getting a grasp on, of how this is going to work, what games are going to be on TV, what games are going to be on ABC, what games are going to be here on Extra. I'll say selfishly, it's awesome for Extra. We're here every day. I think more and more people are finding us every day, but Extra's been the sports home for us since 2013, 10 years ago. We started doing the game of the week. Now we have Bison basketball on there. We still have the game of the week, our show. I mean, it's a thing. So all the heck that happened last year for the State A basketball tournament, there's still going to be people griping about it when this comes about. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of two tournaments going on at the same time. Not one bit. And I think that will be hard for some people to grasp. It's going to be on the high school association and, frankly, us to make a schedule that's conducive to people to watch and know that there are going to be games happen at the same time in two separate spots. It's a huge technical undertaking. It really is, especially in this time of, I mean, we're a year away basically from it happening. And I'll throw in another caveat to it that, remember, there's a 2-year trial for girls hockey to have its own state tournament. It'll start this year in Minot. They could very well do it again in 2024, where you could have the potential of having 3 state tournaments going on at the same time. Girls hockey, girls Class A, girls Class B, all could be happening in the same weekend. That's a lot. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. We're excited about it, but I think for those that are sick of us talking about it, it's a huge sports story, and that's what we talk about on this show. As much as many people get sick of us maybe talking about Bison football, this is, to my extent, one of the bigger sports stories that I've covered in my 16 years being here. Because it's been talked about, I think, almost ad nauseum the entire breadth of time I've been here. Now that it looks like it's going to happen, I don't think you can't talk about it enough, frankly. And if it does go down, one way or the other, we'll have reaction on it coming up on the show tomorrow. Jory Collins will also join us, Bison women's basketball head coach from Omaha, as a big weekend for the Bison women loom with 2 teams that are beneath them in the standings. They start the weekend tied for second in the Summit League, so that's also coming up on the show tomorrow. Let's get you ready for what to watch before we get out of here on this Wednesday. Reminder, the Minnesota Wild are back in action tonight. They take on the Dallas Stars on TNT tonight, 7:30 for that one. Wild played a stinker Monday night against the Coyotes. We'll see how they bounce back against Dallas, who, by the way, is really good. That's not on TNT. The Timberwolves, they're back, right back on the floor after they stunk it up in Denver. They play the Jazz tonight. That's an 8 o'clock tip time on Bally Sports North for that one. And from the SEC, we've got some college hoops tonight. Florida and Alabama, 8 o'clock tonight on ESPN2. Thanks to our guest lineup today, to Drew Trafton, Rick Smith, Dave Richman, and Jake Hook. If you missed any of our show, you can podcast it later today at Inforum.com. Full coverage of the 3-class vote coming up tonight on our news at 6 and 10. Everybody have a great Wednesday. We'll see you back here tomorrow on Hot Mic on WDAY Extra and Inforum.com.